Jealousy is just a loud confession of insecurity disguised as criticism. They'll never admit it outright. They won't say, I'm envious of your success, or I wish I had your strength. Instead, jealous people use subtle words cleverly masked as jokes, backhanded compliments, or passive aggressive comments to chip away at your confidence. It's not what they say on the surface that reveals them, it's what they really mean behind those words. Jealousy doesn't always wear a loud face. Sometimes it smiles in front of you and gossips behind you. Sometimes it claps for you in public and competes with you in secret. And more often than not, it slips out in phrases designed to plant doubt in your mind, to minimize your wins, and to keep you questioning your worth. You have to be alert, because recognizing the language of envy is the first step to protecting your energy, your peace, and your purpose. Once you hear it, once you know it, you'll stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You'll stop dulling your shine to keep others from feeling insecure. Let's uncover the exact words jealous people use and how you can see through them, rise above them, and never let their bitterness shake your greatness again. You've changed. They say it with a sigh, as though change is a crime, as though becoming more of yourself is an offense against the world. They look at you with puzzled eyes, not because they don't recognize you, but because it unsettles them. You've stepped outside of the version of you they built in their mind, and now they no longer know how to place you in the script they wrote without your consent. The words fall from their mouths like quiet accusations. You've changed, not as a compliment, not as celebration, but as a silent protest, as if evolving into strength is an act of betrayal, as if your healing is a weapon drawn against their comfort. But you know the truth. You've changed because you were meant to, because staying the same was suffocating, because the cage of expectation grew too tight, and your spirit needed to breathe. You were not born to wear the same skin forever. Your journey demanded growth, and you answered the call, even when it hurt, even when it meant outgrowing people you once called home. You've changed, not because you're fickle, but because you've learned that standing still in a storm does not make you strong, it makes you stuck. They don't talk about the nights you questioned everything. They don't speak about the silence you sat in, the tears you swallowed, the fear you danced with. They only see the wings. They forget the cocoon. They forget the burial that had to happen before the resurrection. You shed layers they were comfortable with. You let go of masks they adored. You stopped making yourself small to fit inside the fragile frames of their approval. That's what they miss, not you, but the version of you that needed them. And maybe that version did need them. Once, maybe she leaned on them, waited for their validation, sought comfort in their closeness, but not anymore. The you that stands now walks with her own knowing. Her strength is self-sourced. Her peace is self-sustained. They say you've changed as if that's a shame, but growth is not shameful. It is sacred. It is the rising of buried truth, the unfolding of identity, the claiming of your birthright to become. You don't exist to be frozen in someone else's memory. You are a living, breathing mosaic of lessons, trials, and triumphs. Change isn't a flaw, it's evidence of life. They want you to apologize for becoming more, but your expansion isn't something to say sorry for. You didn't leave them behind, they just chose not to move forward. So let them say it, let them repeat it like a mantra. You've changed. And may those words be a reminder of how far you've come, of how deeply you've healed, of how fiercely you've loved yourself through every transformation. You are not who you were. You're not even who you thought you'd be. You're becoming, always becoming. And in that becoming, you've learned to embrace the whisper of your soul over the noise of their disapproval. Because when you bloom, not everyone will clap. And that's okay. The flower never apologizes to the weeds for blossoming. You're too much. There's a subtle sting in the way they say it. A smirk here, a raised brow there. You're too much, too loud, too sensitive, too ambitious, too intense. They try to compress you into something softer, something more palatable, something easier to digest. But they don't understand what it took to be this version of you. They don't see the ashes you rose from, the storms you survived, the lies you unlearned. They see the fire but not the match. They feel the heat but don't acknowledge the cold that preceded it. You were not always this bold. You were not always this certain. You fought for every ounce of this presence. You wrestled with fear in the dark until your voice was no longer a whisper but a roar. They call you too much because they've only ever known a world that rewards silence. A world that praises women for disappearing, for being agreeable, for folding themselves in half just to be liked. But you've chosen to unfold, to rise, to speak. And that's where the discomfort begins. When you decide you no longer want to be small. When you decide your truth deserves volume. When you choose to walk into a room and not apologize for taking up space. The ones who label you as too much are often the ones who fear what you reflect back to them. Their own unrealized dreams, their own suppressed voices, their own forgotten magic. You are a mirror, and that can be unsettling. But don't soften your edges to ease their discomfort. Don't mute your colors to fit into a world that only understands gray. Don't trade your fire for their acceptance. Because what they call too much is exactly what someone else is praying to encounter. You are not too emotional, you are deeply alive. You are not too driven, you are purpose in motion. You are not too intense, you are real in a world addicted to pretending. Let them say you're too much. Let them watch from the sidelines as you become everything they told you to hide. Because the truth is, their labels are more about them than you. Their fear, their limitations, their inability to embrace brilliance. You are not too much. You are everything in abundance. And the world needs your fullness, not a watered-down version of your power. Not a filtered fragment of your truth. So wear the label like a crown. Walk with your too much like it's your superpower. Because it is. And those who truly see you will never ask you to be less. They will hold space for your storm. They will dance in your fire. They will say, finally, someone who isn't afraid to be everything they are must be nice. It sounds innocent, a throwaway phrase. But underneath it sits a mountain of resentment, a sea of unspoken pain, a wound disguised as sarcasm. Must be nice, they say, as if your life is a lottery ticket, not a legacy of struggle. They don't know how many times you've cried yourself to sleep. They don't know how many days you've shown up when your heart felt like it was breaking. They don't know about the doors that closed, the people who left, the dreams that died so others could be born. They see your moment and call it luck. They overlook the miles, the battles, the grit, as if what you have was handed to you, as if grace didn't carry you through nights so dark even your faith wavered. They say must be nice, not because it is, but because they feel it never will be for them. Their jealousy is just their hurt, speaking a language they never learned how to rewrite. You don't need to defend your joy. You don't need to prove your pain to earn your peace. You don't owe them the details of your journey just to validate your arrival. What they don't understand is that your wins are not without wounds, that your success is not spotless, that your elevation came with sacrifice, sleepless nights, and silent wars. They want the destination, but not the path. They admire the glow, but not the grind. They desire your fruit, but not your roots. Let them say it. Let the phrase fall flat. Because deep inside you know the truth. You've worked, you've waited, you've endured, you've risen. Must be nice, they whisper. And yes, it is. Not because it was easy, but because you kept going. Because you kept believing. Because you refused to give up, even when the odds were stacked against you. They see the blessing, but you carry the blueprint. They speak from lack. You walk with purpose. They compare. You create. So hold your head high. Let them wonder. Let them guess. Let them stay confused about how you bloomed in soil they said was too dry. And keep building. Keep showing up. Keep shining. Because your joy is not up for debate, and your journey does not need permission. Don't get your hopes up. These words arrive like a warning, but they're coded in fear. Don't get your hopes up, they say. As if hope is a disease. As if dreaming is a dangerous game best left to the naive. They wear their realism like armor, shielding themselves from the possibility of disappointment. But what they don't realize is that in killing hope, they bury the very breath that keeps the soul alive. They've been hurt. That's clear. Somewhere along the line, life broke their spirit and they decided that expecting less meant protecting themselves more. And now, when they see your eyes light up with possibility, it triggers the memory of what they've lost. Hope terrifies them because it once betrayed them. But you haven't given up. You still believe in new beginnings. You still believe that broken things can become beautiful. You still believe in rising. And that belief makes them uneasy because it reminds them of the version of themselves that once believed, too. The version they abandoned, the voice they silenced, the fire let burn out. But you must not dim for their comfort. You must not adopt their fear as your own. Your hope is not foolish, it's courageous. It's the seed of every miracle, the whisper of every breakthrough, the heartbeat of every new chapter. When they say, don't get your hopes up, they're really saying, I once did, and it hurt too much. But your journey is not theirs. Your future is not bound by their past. So dream anyway, believe anyway, hope anyway, because the heart was made to rise. And when you keep your hopes up, you keep your soul lifted. Let them speak from fear. You will walk in faith. Let them expect the worst. You will prepare for the best. Let them lower their gaze. You will lift your eyes to the sky. Because the ones who change the world, the ones who live with fire, the ones who inspire others, they're always the ones who dared to get their hopes up, even when everyone told them not to. And so, when jealous hearts speak, their words are not merely phrases, they are reflections. They are echoes of their unhealed wounds, projections of their buried insecurities, confessions dressed in disguise. You've changed. You're too much. Must be nice. Don't get your hopes up. These are not just statements, they are silent cries from those who once dared to dream but were met with their own fears and failures. But you, the one who hears these words, the one who stands in the fire of judgment and still dares to rise, you must understand. Their words are not your truth. Their bitterness is not your burden. Their discontent is not your responsibility. You do not need to shrink to soothe their discomfort. You do not need to dim your light to match their shadows. Because every time they say you've changed, know that you've grown beyond their comfort. Every time they say you're too much, know that you've dared to be whole in a world that thrives on halves. When they mutter must be nice, recognize it's your resilience that intimidates them. And when they whisper, don't get your hopes up, remember that hope is your rebellion and your victory. This journey was never about pleasing them. It was about becoming the most honest version of you. It was about honoring the calling on your life no matter who couldn't understand it. It was about rising again and again, even when the weight of their envy tried to hold you down. Let them talk, let them judge, let them gossip, but let yourself soar. Because when jealous people speak, they only reveal what they cannot yet heal. And you are living proof that healing, growth, and hope are still possible, still powerful, still necessary. Let them say the words. You live the truth.